Yo, what's going on, everybody out there? Welcome back to another episode of Destination Dynasty here at High Stakes, baby. What's going on, everybody? Before we jump into the content today, just want to ask you guys if you love what you see, if you guys enjoy these videos, just show some love to those thumbs and subscribe because the hamster wheel keeps going, the wheels keep on turning. We're just churning out more content for you guys. So, as you guys can see from the title below, we are talking about taking the best player available today. And I got to be honest with you guys, I feel like that is a very smart way to draft. And you can even apply this knowledge to the NFL. But let's talk about it. Maybe you have team needs. So let's say, you've got Julio Jones, maybe a solid number 2 like a Randall Cobb. But you got no running backs. Maybe you missed the playoffs somehow. I don't know how you would with Julio. But let's say you have like a top 6 pick. And I understand the team need might be running back. We don't know what running backs are going to be coming out yet. We don't know, again, and obviously this is all early speculation talk, but the reason why we talk about drafting the best player available is to get you guys ready for these drafts because, again, Dynasty football is all about being a GM, and when is GM season? GM season is between January and, depending on when you have your rookie drafts, August. So, at least fantasy-wise, real GMs, it's all year round. But you guys get where I'm going with this. So, let's talk about this best player available stuff because it's seriously a big part of it. Listen, like I said, I was picking 12th going into this year. I managed to somehow win. And, again, I know that I'll be waiting till 2016 to collect on Brashad Perryman, but he was the best player available. Was I going to reach for Tevin Coleman at the time was a hot commodity? Philip Dorsett, who, ironically, I traded for, but I still think he's a wait-and-see project. There's a lot of guys out there. I mean, a Devin Funchess was hot, a hot second-rounder. There was a lot of talent. Jalen Strong had a lot of hype going. And again, these are guys that were valued coming into the offseason, coming into before people drafted. These were guys that were highly touted of. So I feel like I did take the best player available. Part of me wishes I grabbed Matt Jones for the future. But again, we don't know what Matt Jones is going to look like. We do know one thing's for sure. Joe Flacco is going to need a receiver to throw, and I'm still sold on Mark Trestman. The man knows how to develop offenses, and I think that can translate to fantasy production for Perryman. Again, we have to wait for 2016. If you drafted Dorial Green-Beckham at the end of your draft, maybe between picks 8 and 11, if he somehow managed to slip to the second round, God help the people that you're playing Dynasty with. Point is, new coaching change. Wisenhunt just seems allergic to getting the ball to rookies, so out went that mentality. New interim head coach comes in. Dorial Green-Beckham saw a team-high 10 targets last week. I still like him for the future. Let's say you were picking 8th. Nelson Aguilar, while he hasn't done much this year, we are spoiled by 2014, folks. We are never, well, let me not say never, it's going to be a long time before we get a crop of receivers that just come in and dominate like that again. I mean, usually you're waiting 2-3 years for receivers to start blossoming into production. It just doesn't work that way anymore. So we go back to this whole mantra of best player available. And again, if you guys haven't checked out the last, or I think it was 2 videos ago, how to build your dynasty team, I think it was episode 2. Go ahead, if you haven't watched that one, check it out. We talk about building our dynasty roster around young receivers. Again, everything that's talked about on this channel, fantasy-wise, is PPR. If you haven't gotten with PPR, it's time for you to put down your telephone that was made in 1970, because that's essentially what playing standard feels like. Grab your smartphone, your iPhone, whatever. Get into PPR. It is the wave of the future. So go ahead and check out that video if you haven't. I'm sure you can find it to the side right here. So again, we want to build around young receivers. So you can never have too many. So this goes into this whole mantra of just acquiring young receivers. People are going to need them. And if you need running back help, if you have drafted and acquired enough young receiving talent, you can start trading these assets away. Again, see episode 3, I believe, or 3 or 4, trading and why that's important. If you want a little bit more of an elaborated reason as to why trading is good, check out that video. The point here is, guys, is that take the best player available. Okay, my girlfriend, she lucked into the number 1 overall pick. Sure, running back was a need, but the best player available was Gurley, and she snagged him. My sister had the 2nd overall pick. She didn't exactly need Cooper with Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, but you know what? He was the best player available. And now she's going Odell, Cooper, and flexing Landry every week. You're feeling pretty good about that. She had Le'Veon Bell, but he went down. Fortunately for Sierra, she was smart enough and drafted D'Angelo Williams. So she's got running back help. She didn't feel the need to reach for a Melvin Gordon or somebody like that, even though I'll admit I was pressing her about it just because running backs are valued. Overall, she made the right choice going with Cooper there. But again, pick number 5, my buddy Jeff, he didn't exactly need receivers, but you know what? Devontae Parker at 5 is a pretty good consolation prize, if you ask me. And again, Parker's a guy you're going to have to wait until 2016, but you know what? It's okay. Go see the episode about patience if you guys haven't, checked that out. Patience is huge in Dynasty. So you look at some of these guys that came in. Now, eventually, there was a guy who you could argue reached for his running backs after Devontae Parker picked 6 and 7 were Yeldon and Abdullah respectively. I think those are solid, options. But again, me personally, do I think Dorial Beckham's going to be a better player? I think he will in the future, especially when you've got Marcus Mariota chucking him the rock. All right? When I look at guys I do think Nelson Aguilar in that Chip Kelly system with a little bit more development will put up more points than Amir Abdullah. Again, I understand you feel the need to go that route. You need a running back. You need these guys. And that's okay. And listen, Abdullah's playing behind in a bad offensive line with a bad coaching scheme. Don't freak out if you drafted Amir Abdullah. He's good. Yeldon has shown signs. He's shown flashes that he can be a really solid high-end RB2. I'm not knocking those picks. I just think that Dorial Beckham, I think that maybe even guys like, to an extent, Perryman, I think those guys will ultimately end up being better players. So I can go ahead and if I have that receiving depth, I can go ahead and trade those away for the running back depth I require. Because remember, proven commodities are always better than the unknown. And again, we talk about receivers having more longevity in the NFL. The guys at Dynasty Nerds, and if you haven't checked out Dynasty Nerds, go ahead, dynastynerds.com. Great podcast, great stuff. They talk about having a hashtag 2 to 3 year window. I mean, and we're almost kind of seeing that with Eddie Lacy now. His 2 to 3 years is looking spent, looking kind of plottish out there. So, that's why we don't build our dynasty team around running backs. It's because they fall off a cliff. So when you're in your draft, again, assess your team need, but again, make sure you take the best player available. All the people that I've talked to that have done Dynasty a lot longer than I have, they feel like that's the right decision. I mean, my friend Mark, who's in our Dynasty, he had Brandon Marshall, Julian Edelman, and he traded last year, got Allen Robinson. He felt pretty good about that. But you know what? He was picking at number 4. He still said, you know what? Give me Kevin White. Let me put that elite talent on my roster. He can flip Brandon Marshall. He can flip Julian Edelman if he wants and still have that young crop of Allen Robinson, Kevin White, and whichever guy he doesn't trade there. So he'll still have the wide receiver, and a very solid flex option. So this is why we draft best player available, guys, because trading is key. And trust me, someone will covet that young wide receiver or tight end. And again, if running back is the best player available, if you luck into a Todd Gurley in 2 years from now, a Fournette, a Nick Chubb, we'll see who comes out this year, but we know that Fournette's not eligible until the 2017 draft. Take the best player available, guys. So Thank you guys for watching this episode of Destination Dynasty here at High Stakes, and I just want to thank all the love that you guys have shown. I really appreciate you guys watching the show. Anytime you guys want to come on Destination Dynasty or DebateGate, we'll have that. I do have a quick announcement. Fantasy First will no longer be on the YouTube channel. It is now an audio-exclusive podcast only that you can find in the description below. But we will keep it rolling out for you guys. And again, subscribe if you guys like the material. Show some love to those thumbs up or down. If you dislike the content, let me know. Tell me why. Also, voice your opinions in the comment section below for DebateGate, for Destination Dynasty. I really want to hear what you guys think. You guys can post potential trade offers, just anything about Dynasty football. I'm addicted to it, and I can spend the rest of my life talking about it. So, any questions or concerns, you guys let me know. This was Destination Dynasty. This was High Stakes, baby. And we'll see you here next time. High Stakes Sports Debates.